I woke up that morning with a strange feeling in my chest, like something heavy was sitting there and refusing to move. My name is Emily Carter, and until that day, I believed my husband Ryan Carter was the safest place in my life. We lived in a quiet neighborhood outside Boston with clean streets, smiling neighbors, and a house that looked perfect from the outside. But inside my heart, small cracks had already started to form. Ryan had changed. He smiled less, talked less, and kept his phone locked all the time. When I asked him simple questions, he answered quickly, like he was in a hurry to escape. At night, he turned his phone screen away from me. Sometimes he stepped outside to take calls and came back pretending nothing happened. I tried to tell myself I was imagining things, but my heart knew the truth before my mind accepted it. One evening, while Ryan was in the shower, his phone lit up on the bed. I did not touch it. I did not read anything. But the name that flashed on the screen burned into my eyes: Anastasia. I did not know who she was, but I knew one thing clearly: that name did not belong in my marriage. From that night on, I started watching quietly. I noticed dates, times, patterns. Ryan left every Friday afternoon saying he had business meetings. He always came back late, smelling of a perfume that was not mine. I felt weak, but I stayed calm. I remembered something my mother once told me. When you feel lost, observe. Truth always shows itself. A few days later, I found a small card in Ryan's jacket pocket while doing laundry. It was not a love note. It was not a receipt. It was a simple card with a logo and one line written below it: Elite 9 Tracking and Investigation Team. My hands started shaking. Why would my husband have this? That night, after Ryan fell asleep, I searched for the team online. They worked with trained dogs that could track people using scent, movement, and behavior. They helped in missing cases, cheating cases, and secret investigations. I stared at the screen for a long time, then finally sent them a message. I wrote only one line: I think my husband is lying to me. I want the truth. The next day, I got a reply. They did not ask many questions. They asked for a meeting. 2 days later, I sat in a quiet office across from a calm woman named Laura. She spoke gently, like she already knew how much pain people carried into that room. She explained how their dogs worked, how tracking was legal, and how they only followed facts, not emotions. I agreed to everything. I gave them the dates, the times, the places Ryan said he went. Friday came again. Ryan kissed my forehead and said, "I'll be late, don't wait up." I smiled and said, "Drive safe." As soon as he left, I grabbed my coat and went to meet the team. The van smelled like clean metal and leather. Inside were 2 handlers and one beautiful German shepherd named Max. Max's eyes were sharp but kind. They took something Ryan had used that morning, a scarf. Max sniffed it once, then sat still, focused, like he had locked onto something invisible. The van started moving. We drove for almost an hour. My heart beat louder with every mile. I wanted to stop. I wanted to go home, but the truth was already pulling me forward. If you are listening to this story right now and feel your heart beating fast, don't forget to subscribe, because what comes next will change everything. The van slowed near a quiet lakeside resort on the edge of town. Max stood up, alert. The handlers exchanged a look. Laura turned to me and said softly, "This is where the trail ends." My legs felt weak as I stepped out of the van. The place was calm, almost beautiful. Wooden cabins, soft lights, and silence. It looked like a place people came to hide. We walked toward one cabin. The door was slightly open. Inside, I heard laughter, a woman's laugh, not mine. Laura gently pushed the door open. There he was, Ryan, my husband, standing close to a tall blonde woman with pale skin and sharp eyes. She was beautiful in a cold way. Her accent was clear when she spoke his name, Anastasia. Russian. They froze when they saw me. Time stopped. Ryan's face turned white. Anastasia stepped back, confused. I did not scream. I did not cry. I felt strangely calm, like my heart had already finished breaking days ago. "Emily, this isn't..." Ryan started. I raised my hand. "I didn't come here to listen," I said quietly. "I came here to see..." Max sat beside me, silent and steady, like he understood everything. I turned around and walked out without another word. As I stepped back into the cold air, one thought repeated in my mind, clear and sharp. This is not the end. This is only the beginning. And if you think this is just a cheating story, stay with me, because what I did next was something Ryan never saw coming. I did not sleep that night. I lay in my bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the quiet sound of the clock, every tick reminding me that my life had just split into two parts, before the truth and after it. Ryan did not come home until morning. When he finally walked in, I pretended to be asleep. I wanted him to think everything was normal. I wanted him to feel safe. People make the biggest mistakes when they believe no one is watching. The next few days, I became a different version of myself. I smiled more, I cooked his favorite meals, I asked about his work with a soft voice. Ryan relaxed. He thought he had fooled me, he thought I was weak. That was his biggest mistake. Inside, I was building something much stronger than anger. I was building patience. I met Laura again from the 9 team, this time without dogs, in a small cafe far from our neighborhood. She looked at me carefully and said, "Most people want to explode after what you saw, you're very calm." "I don't want noise," I replied. "I want justice." She nodded like she understood exactly what that meant. Over the next week, I learned everything. Where Ryan sent money, how long the affair had been going on. Anastasia was not just a secret girlfriend. She was part of his plan. Ryan had been moving money into a separate account, planning to leave me quietly and disappear with her. The house, the savings, even my name had been slowly erased from decisions that belonged to both of us. Every new detail hurt, but I did not cry. I wrote everything down: dates, proof, messages, locations. At home, Ryan started acting strange again. One evening, he sat across from me at dinner and said, "Emily, do you trust me?" I looked into his eyes and smiled. "Of course, you're my husband." He exhaled with relief. He had no idea that every word he said was already trapped. If you're listening right now, don't forget to subscribe, because this story is not about pain anymore, it's about power. One night, Ryan told me he was going on a short business trip, 3 days. I nodded and helped him pack. As soon as he left, I made my move. With the help of the investigation team, I contacted a lawyer quietly. Everything was done legally, cleanly, and smart. By the time Ryan was sipping coffee in another city with Anastasia, papers were already moving. Accounts were being frozen. Access was being changed. His secret plans were collapsing without him even knowing. On the second day of his trip, I sent him a simple text. "Hope your meeting is going well." He replied with a heart emoji. That night, I stood alone in the living room looking at the life I had built with him. I was not angry anymore, I was focused. On the third day, Ryan came home early. He walked into the house smiling, then stopped. The lights were on. The house felt different, too quiet. He saw a folder on the table with his name on it. His smile disappeared. "Emily," he called. "I'm here," I said calmly from the kitchen. He opened the folder. His hands started shaking as he read. "Legal notices, account alerts, proof, evidence." "What is this?" he whispered. "This," I said as I walked closer, "is the truth you thought you buried." He looked at me like he was seeing a stranger. "You followed me, I didn't have to," I replied. "Your lies walked straight into the light." Ryan tried to speak, but no words came out. "I loved you," I continued softly, "but you chose to gamble with that love. Now you'll live with the results." He dropped into a chair, broken, confused, exposed. I picked up my coat. "This isn't revenge," I said. "This is balance." As I walked toward the door, Ryan finally cried out my name. I did not turn back, because the next step of my plan was already in motion, and it was the one that would change everything forever. I walked out of the house that night, but I did not run away from my life. I walked toward my future. The cold air hit my face, and for the first time in weeks, I could breathe without pain. Ryan stayed behind, sitting with his head in his hands, surrounded by papers that told the story of his own betrayal. He still believed he could fix things. He still believed I would come back and forgive him. He did not understand me at all. I stayed at a small hotel near the city, nothing fancy, just quiet. That night I finally cried, not because I missed Ryan, but because I missed the woman I used to be, the woman who trusted too easily. When the tears stopped, something else took their place. Strength. The next morning my phone rang. It was Laura. "You did the right thing," she said, "but I need to warn you, men like Ryan don't accept loss easily." "I know," I replied. "That's why I'm not done." Over the next few days, Ryan tried everything. Messages, calls, voicemails. He cried, begged, promised to change. I listened to none of it. I saved everything. Every word became proof. Then Anastasia contacted me. Her message was short and cold. "You ruined everything." I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. "No," I typed calmly, "you exposed it." She did not respond. What Ryan didn't know was that Anastasia had been lying to him too. She was not in love. She was using him for money and a visa plan. Laura's team uncovered it all. Messages where Anastasia laughed about him, calling him foolish. Plans to leave him once she got what she wanted. I did not smile when I read them. I felt something stronger than happiness. I felt clarity. If you're listening right now, don't forget to subscribe because this story is about to take a turn no one expects. One afternoon, Ryan showed up at the hotel. He looked tired, unshaven, smaller than before. "Please," he said, standing in front of me. "Let's talk." I nodded. "Okay." We sat in the lobby. He reached for my hand. I pulled it back. "I made a mistake," he said. "She meant nothing." I looked at him quietly. "Then why did you risk everything?" He had no answer. I slid my phone across the table. On the screen were messages, Anastasia's messages about him. Ryan's face fell apart. "She used me," he whispered. "Yes," I said, "just like you used me." He broke down right there in front of strangers. I did not feel sorry. I felt finished. That same week, the legal process moved faster. Ryan's company partners were informed. His reputation started cracking. People began asking questions he could not answer. Doors started closing. Anastasia disappeared. No calls. No messages, just gone. Ryan lost her the same way he lost me, by trusting lies. One evening, as I stood by the hotel window watching city lights, Laura called again. "There's one more thing," she said. "Ryan tried to move money today. It failed. He knows he's trapped." I closed my eyes. Good. Because the final part of my plan was not about taking his money or his house. It was about taking away the one thing he valued more than love: control. And very soon, Ryan was going to learn what it feels like to be completely powerless. Ryan stopped calling after that. The silence was loud, but I understood what it meant. He was no longer trying to fix things. He was trying to survive. His world was shrinking and he could feel the walls closing in. I moved out of the hotel and into a small rented apartment. It was simple, clean, and quiet. Every morning, sunlight came through the window, and I reminded myself that peace did not need to be big or expensive. It just needed to be honest. Ryan, on the other hand, was falling apart. His company partners began pulling away. Meetings were canceled. Phone calls went unanswered. People who once laughed with him now avoided his eyes. Rumors spread fast, and truth always moves faster than lies in the end. The man who thought he controlled everything now controlled nothing. One evening, I received an email from his office. It was not meant for me. Someone had sent it by mistake. It said Ryan was being asked to step back while internal matters were reviewed. I closed the email calmly. I did not celebrate. I simply nodded to myself. This was the result of choices, not revenge. If you are still listening, don't forget to subscribe because the lesson in this story matters more than the pain. A few days later, Ryan finally asked to meet again. He said it was important. I agreed, not because I felt weak, but because I felt ready. We met in a small park. Children were playing nearby, laughing without a care in the world. Ryan sat on a bench, shoulders bent, eyes tired. "I lost everything," he said quietly. "My job, my friends, she's gone. I have nothing left." I sat down across from him. "You still have your life," I said calmly. He looked up, surprised. "Then why does it feel like it's over?" "Because you built your life on lies," I replied gently. "When lies fall, everything collapses." He started crying again, but this time it was different, not loud, just empty. "I never thought you'd be this strong," he said. I smiled softly. "Neither did you." Ryan looked at me with fear in his eyes. "What happens now?" I stood up. "Now you learn." He reached out, but I stepped back. "This is the part where I choose myself," I said. "And you live with your choices." I walked away while he stayed behind, alone on the bench, watching children play a life he no longer understood. That night, I slept peacefully for the first time in months. But the story was not finished yet, because the final step was not about Ryan losing everything. It was about me gaining something I had never truly had before: freedom. And in the next part, you'll see how the ending no one expected finally arrived. Freedom felt strange at first. I woke up early every morning in my small apartment, made my own breakfast, and sat quietly with my thoughts. There was no one checking my phone, no one lying beside me pretending to care, no one making promises they never planned to keep. The silence was clean, it healed me, but freedom also meant responsibility. I had to rebuild my life from the ground up. And this time I decided to do it the right way. I returned to work with full focus. Before Ryan, I had put my dreams aside to support his goals, his company, his future. Now I took those dreams back. I worked longer hours, learned new skills, and slowly earned respect that was truly mine. People noticed the change, they noticed the strength, they noticed the calm confidence that came from knowing the truth. One afternoon, Laura called me again. "I wanted you to hear this from me," she said. "Ryan is officially out of his company. His partners voted him out." I closed my eyes for a moment, not out of happiness, out of closure. "Thank you for telling me," I replied. "He's also tried to contact us," Laura continued. "He wants help. He wants advice." I smiled sadly. "Some lessons can't be taught, they have to be lived." That evening, as I walked home, I saw a familiar figure sitting on the steps outside my apartment building. Ryan, he looked thinner, older. Like life had aged him quickly. "I'm not here to beg," he said before I could speak. "I just didn't know where else to go." I stood there quietly, holding my keys. For a moment, I saw the man I once loved. Then I saw the truth behind him. The choices, the lies. "You should go," I said gently. "I know," he replied. "I just wanted to say one thing." I waited. "You didn't destroy me," he said softly. "I destroyed myself." That was the first honest thing he had ever said to me. I nodded. "Take care of yourself, Ryan." He stood up slowly and walked away without looking back. And just like that, the final tie between us broke. If you're still listening to this story, don't forget to subscribe, because what I learned next might help you too. Weeks passed. Life became steady, peaceful. I laughed more, I slept better, I trusted myself again. One day, I received a message from an unknown number. It was Anastasia. "I am leaving the country," the message read. I wanted to say I was wrong. I did not reply. Some apologies come too late, and some doors should never be reopened. Instead, I deleted the message and went on with my day. That night, I stood by my window again, watching city lights just like before. But this time, there was no anger, no sadness, no desire for revenge, only understanding. I finally realized something important. Revenge is loud, but healing is quiet. Power does not come from hurting others, it comes from choosing yourself even when it's hard. Ryan lost control because he tried to control everything. I gained freedom because I let go. And the most surprising part, I did not need to win against him to win my life back. The final part of this story is not about what Ryan lost. It's about what I became. And that ending is closer than you think. I did not wake up one day feeling magically healed. Healing does not work like that. It comes slowly, quietly, like the sun rising when you are not watching. But one morning, while tying my shoes before work, I realized something important. I was no longer carrying anger with me. The weight was gone. Life had become simple again. I worked, I rested, I smiled without forcing it. I learned how to enjoy small things like walking without checking my phone, drinking coffee without thinking about the past, laughing without guilt. I had become someone new, someone stronger, someone who trusted herself. Months later, the divorce was finalized. No drama, no fights, just signatures and silence. When I walked out of the building that day, the air felt lighter than ever before. I stood on the steps for a moment, closed my eyes, and whispered to myself, "You survived." Ryan did not show up. I heard about him later through people who used to know us. He moved to another city, took a small job far from the life he once had. The man who wanted control over everything now lived quietly, carefully. Some people said he changed. Some said he stayed the same. It no longer mattered to me. One evening, Laura invited me for coffee. It was our last meeting, not as investigator and client, but as two women who had walked through truth together. "You handled everything with grace," she said. "Most people choose anger." "I chose peace," I replied. "It was harder, but it lasts longer." She smiled. "You know, many people who hear your story will see themselves in it." That stayed with me. If you're listening right now, don't forget to subscribe, because stories like this remind us that strength doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. Later that night, I sat alone on my balcony, watching the city glow. I thought about the girl I used to be, the one who trusted blindly, who feared being alone, who thought love meant sacrifice at any cost. I felt compassion for her. She did her best with what she knew, and I forgave her. That was the final step. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It does not mean allowing people to hurt you again. It means freeing yourself from the past so it cannot control your future. I started helping others after that. Quietly, friends, coworkers, women who felt lost and confused. I didn't tell them what to do, I just listened. Sometimes that was enough. Sometimes people don't need answers. They need someone to remind them they are not weak for feeling pain. One day, a young girl at work asked me, "How did you get so confident?" I smiled and said, "By learning the hard way that my life belongs to me." That night, I wrote something in my journal, something I want you to remember too. Being cheated on does not mean you failed. Being lied to does not mean you were foolish. Trusting someone does not make you weak. Staying silent forever does. I did not destroy my husband. I did not take revenge with cruelty. I did not become cold or heartless. I became free. And that is the most powerful ending any story can have. So if you're listening to this and standing at the edge of doubt, pain, or fear, remember this. The truth might hurt at first, but it always leads you home. This is not a story about betrayal. This is a story about choosing yourself. And sometimes that choice changes everything.